Before we start this question, can we get a makeup artist in here? I just have a blemish on my face. Is this high definition? This is not going to help my argument with the women at all right now. Which woman would I be? That's an interesting question. Is it weird if I say my grandma? You know, is that a weird answer? I don't know. My grandma was real hard. I thought she was a pretty bad woman. I liked her. I don't know. I haven't thought about anybody that I wanted to be ever, so I don't know. I'm gonna go with Natalie Rattano. She was on, if you remember the program VIP with Pamela Anderson. She was the short black hair girl. She's a fitness instructor. I think that she is very spunky and I like her attitude. It was interesting, for my job I had to inventory a pretty famous studio in Jamaica. So we found a lot of reels, a lot of classic original audio tape of Bob Marley and Max Romeo and dudes that are legends sort of dudes, and it was really interesting holding pieces that at auction might go for 50 grand or something like that and are really a piece of history to somebody. I was also there during a hurricane, which everybody there handled with a lot of grace, you know what I mean? There's people with tin roofs there and plywood houses and they managed pretty all right. So I was impressed by that. That's a captivating question. I do essentially whatever I am paid to do within the boundaries of my moral compass. It's a way of saying that I work in marketing and have a host of responsibilities. A woman that I was trying to sleep with told me that she couldn't sleep with me because she had heard I was a shitty dude. And I said, "Who told you I was a shitty dude?" And she said, "Oh, that's Jeff Run for Cover that told me you were a shitty dude." So I then stayed at his house with his roommate at the time, and I had built it up that I was going to give Jeff a hard time and abuse him on the fact that he had prevented me from being with a very beautiful young woman. But Jeff is too immediately likable, and he diffused the situation. So all that came of this is that I don't think either of us ever slept with her. There was a festival in Louisville called Crazy Fest that was pretty fun, but we were there. When we do a fest, we typically stay for the whole fest. For some reason, we like that. I couldn't explain why anybody likes that, but we like that. But it becomes frustrating not playing, watching other people play. You know, say you play on a Friday and then you have 2 days of watching people, you want to play again. So we were looking for an alternative venue to do an after party, and this part of Louisville is nothing but maybe a Baskin-Robbins and 30 strip clubs. Jeff and myself and a friend went to every strip club on the strip, asking them if they'd host us, and got some really strange answers. Met some interesting people, friends to last a lifetime, and finally found a spot that was willing to host us. The woman that ran it said she'd have to leave her child's prom early, but she'd go, or she'd make it so we had supervision, and it was cool. And it was cool. It was, we roped Bane into it, fireworks jumped on it, Make Doing Men, and it was really, there were strippers there, and it was definitely a strip club, but it wasn't, I don't think at all it was a sleazy vibe. It was just a venue like any other. The bar was super excited because they made more money on water than they made in all year on drinks. The girls were upset though because the girls work on tips, so they weren't making anything that night. And then at the end, I won't name names, but a band definitely made it worth it to the strippers as they stayed until like 5 in the morning getting lap dances. So it balanced out, and everybody, I think, at the end of the day was happy, except for the kids who got their cars towed. Sorry about that. Sigil magic, mystical divinity, prayer to the outlying spirits, Gog and Magog. No, I don't know. I just answer questions to the best of my ability. I think most of it's common sense, and really my finding is that most people just want somebody that they don't know personally to act as a sounding board and answer the questions, and they don't necessarily take what I say to heart, but they just want a separate opinion, and they want it to be, because everybody's got something that is on their chest, but they want to talk about it not with the people closest to them, because they're going to feel somewhat judged. I'm not necessarily more qualified. I just have a chunk of time in the center of my day to answer people's questions. So they do that. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. I'd say that's accurate. No, I mean, I like thousands of bands, but I still find myself going back to a lot of the stuff that made an impact on me in my youth, and Earth Crisis is one of those bands. They're a fascinating band from a social perspective, because they've gone through periods where everybody's talking about them. Then they've gone through periods where they were sort of dismissed. They've gone through periods where people openly mocked them or resented them. And then now they've sort of fallen into where I think they probably belong, which is a classic American hardcore band where you couldn't really have a conversation about American hardcore without mentioning them. And I think that's where they belong. They belong. You know, you can sit there all day and say, well, they're definitely not as good as Minor Threat. That's fine. They're definitely not as good as Negative Approach. That's fine. But they're in that same conversation. Let me put it this way. If you had a conversation about the history of hardcore and the relevant acts, the acts that made an impact and the acts, you would be an absolute poser if you did not mention Earth Crisis. You'd look like a fool. Man, I don't get sick terribly often, but when I do, I get real sick. And in the UK, I got, firstly, the UK is a place that if you believe in a benevolent God, you have to believe he plays favorites, because he turned his back on England. It is the dreariest fucking place. And I say this with a great amount of affection for the people there, as my band always gets treated well, and I quite love the people. I try to explain this to people that don't understand what I'm talking about. You get cold there and then you never get warm again. That's why all those people in England are drinking all day. It's because they're just trying to put on like that extra layer of fat, just put on a little bit more skin so we don't have to feel cold all the damn time. But I'm a spindly, you know, I'm a little dude. Once I get cold, it's no joke. And I got this cold once I was there. It chilled me to my bones and would not let go of me. And then I got some sort of sickness. What was it? It was the swine flu, actually. And so I got the swine flu, and I deteriorated real quick. I became like a non-person after a day and a half. I looked like a dead person. My skin was gray. I slept in a tub full of water and almost drowned. I was out of it. It was a really unpleasant experience, actually. Oh, that's tough. Well, I've written music for a long time. I spent the last 10 years writing and playing music. Comic books I've only really started writing in the last 2 years. If I could only do one for the rest of my life, that's a tough question. I have to reflect on that. Both are for broke people, you know what I mean? Both aren't going to pay a rent. Both are rather fulfilling. That's tough. I'm gonna have to withhold an answer until I reflect on that matter. You know what? Like a year ago, maybe, I saw something that made me want to post real bad, and I tried to log in, and I either don't remember my login or I got deleted or something. There's some part of me that's like, and this is a childish part of me, but there's some part of me that's a conflict-driven person, and when you put me in situations where I can antagonize, I become this like little 12-year-old troll that just like has to like fucking irritate motherfuckers, and not in any sort of like, super like aggressive asshole way, just in a way that like I know something will irk somebody slightly, so I just have to do that. It used to be when you're interacting with people on the internet when you're young, you get real angry about stuff. There's almost nothing somebody could say to me now that get me real angry. But it used to be somebody tried to provoke me, and they would every like 1 out of 10 times succeed, and I'd be at the, you know, when, for anybody, if you've never been in a fucking message board argument, you don't know what I'm talking about. I seem like a crazy person right now, but there's a sickness. You know what I mean? If you ever saw the episode of DuckTales where the gold fever, it's like gold fever hits you. You get fixated, so you can't leave. And people are like, come on, we're going swimming with a bunch of topless girls. It's going to be fucking awesome. And you're like, nah, man, no, hold on. Give me 5 minutes. And did you see what this motherfucker just read to me? Hold on. No, I can't go. Oh, take the topless girls, man. Hold on. Somebody read this. This guy's fucking crazy. And you do this for hours. You can kill a day arguing with a moron about something you don't even care about. I like them, but it's probably best if I don't get on them and provoke people and get into all that shit. Yeah, it's hard to offend me. Maybe impossible at this point. I understand the way that this is going to carry to people, and I'd urge you to think about it before you just disregard it. You got to ask yourself why you give a fuck about some dude's opinion. You know what I mean? Like, that's a question that you have to ask yourself. Like, when I read somebody criticizing me, I say, the fuck would I listen to this asshole for? You know what I mean? Like, look at this guy. Yeah, there's a lot of people that view it's one of those cognitive biases that you engage actively when you are offended, that to dismiss somebody is that response. And certainly there are those people that won't listen to anything. They'll be like, somebody will be like, brush your teeth, and they'll be like, I'm not gonna brush my teeth. That's unreasonable. Obviously brush your motherfucking teeth. But Todd McFarlane, right? Comic book dude. I read an interview with him that I thought was real sharp. He said, well, I don't know, man, when I go into these business meetings, everybody wants me to listen to their opinion, and he said, I don't listen to my dad, and I love him, so why the fuck would I listen to you? And I thought that was the sharpest thing anybody's ever said. I've basically accepted that as my motto. Think about the sheer fucking volume of idiot human beings on this planet. You can't get offended, because if you did, you just spend all day being offended. You know what I mean? You'd be that dude that's on like news sites looking at the comments from fucking redneck morons and being like, oh my God, how can they, yo, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit what fucking Larry in Topeka says about gun control? Who gives a goddamn? I'm surprised they know how to work a fucking computer. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Why do we care about Larry in Topeka? I don't give a fuck about Larry in Topeka. I thought my childhood was completely normal. As it turns out, it was not maybe necessarily normal, but I didn't think about that. I haven't had to think about that until recently and reflect on the fact that maybe it was peculiar. So it's an interesting question, actually, because am I more affected by a childhood that I didn't feel I was affected by at all? or these negative things, I mean? Or am I truly not affected? It's a compelling question. I don't know the answer. But I would, from my view, I had a idyllic childhood that was real low stress. My productivity is 1/100th of what I would like it to be. Those of you that are fucking around with drugs, maybe except for speed, maybe speed makes you more efficient, I don't know, but those of you that are fucking around with drugs that make you slower, make your thoughts more difficult to come by, get a grasp on, I don't understand how you get through a fucking day, because my days, if I don't get a certain amount done, I get really irritated. I'm not kind to the people that I love. I feel a certain sort of pressure physically on my back because I didn't do the thing I set out to do. So if I slowed myself down at all, like when I have a conversation with some dude that's really fucking high, the whole time I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, this motherfucker's not getting anything done today. You know what I mean? And so to me, like, and it's not even a judgment at this point in my life, it's just a preference. I don't understand how you fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like, you all must live in the South, talk real slow. You know what I mean? Because I need stimulation. You know what I mean? If you're not stimulating me, I'm getting fucking really antsy. So, to answer your question, I've met plenty of people that'll make the argument that fucking around with drugs, particularly psychedelic drugs, has made their life better. You know what I mean? I've met plenty of people like that. And all due respect to you, you know what I mean? Good, God bless, live your life any way you fucking want to live it. But I never met any one of them whose life I wanted for myself. You know what I mean? I never met any one of them that I was like, yo, this dude talking to me about how he understands water since he ate mushrooms. If I eat mushrooms, I'm gonna talk about water all the time? And fucking, I don't wanna talk about this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so does that answer the question at all? Maybe it's just that I find drugs real fucking annoying. Is that fair? You know what I mean?